me, Persolaise, live on YouTube, doing the usual thing of going over to the tablet to make sure that everything is coming through fine. Nothing yet, although it always seems to take a second to... Right, here we go. I think we're all right. Who gets the first comment? Rich Mitch saying hello. Joanna says, good afternoon, everybody. Greetings from London. Christos says, hello. Wish you all the best from Germany. Thank you very much. The same to you as well. Rich is saying, I'm a big fan. I'm a big patchouli fan at the moment. Patchouli by Profumum Roma, real patchouli by Bois 1920, and Pavarotti Pour Harvest be here or had best be here? Oh, you're probably going to be a bit disappointed. Christos says there's got to be some Frederic Malles in there. This is where it gets interesting, isn't it? And who else? I've just saw a comment from Benjamin saying hi from icy Glasgow. Parth says hello, catching a live after a long time. You're very, very welcome. Drag says good evening from Glasgow, and Rich Mitch says, oh no. Are we going to have a... Is this going to be a controversial one? I'm just going to do one thing, not to sort of poke your eyes out, but I'm just wondering if I need to improve the visuals here. This is the joys of doing it live. No, is it all coming through okay, folks? Just tell me if it isn't. Hello from snowy New York City, says Ronnie. And JW is finally catching alive. We are sentient says hi from Dublin. And Olfactive Stories says hi there. You're all very, very welcome. Get a few bits and pieces of housekeeping out of the way. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so. Please have a think about supporting my work on Ko-fi. You will find the details on all of that in the video description below a little while after the video finishes, when I've had a chance to write it all up. If you are watching live, please feel free to join in the live chat, leave comments, questions, and even if you're watching the recording, please feel free to do so as well. This is going to be the first time in a while that we're doing a kind of feature-length episode, because we're going to aim for about an hour, but we will keep things to just under the hour, because we're doing a best-of. We haven't done a best-of for a little while. It's been a bit tricky for me to try and sort things out to do a best-of, but I've been meaning to do a few for the longest time, and I thought I absolutely have to get a best-of in there before the end of the year. And I decided to go for patchouli. Now, we have got 10 perfumes to smell, and I want to get going, because getting through 10 perfumes in an hour is not always the easiest thing. But just to tell you in about a minute or so why I decided to go for patchouli. This is how my brain works sometimes. I was thinking, what is it that we could do that would somehow be about the spirit of peace and togetherness and community and spreading goodwill and good cheer, etc. And that made me think of the spirit of the hippie movement, and of course then I was only a few steps away from thinking of patchouli. Now, I guess there are certain other elements of the hippie movement that maybe we don't particularly want to be referencing at the moment or associating ourselves with at the moment, but hey, nobody's perfect, no movement is perfect, right? So it's patchouli today as a means of spreading some positivity. Somebody just said, Thea, as a means of spreading positivity and love and peace and goodwill and a spirit of togetherness as we approach the end of what has been, I think it is safe to say, a tricky year. And also, just so you know what I'm planning, that shirt is spreading goodwill in my direction, says Rich Mitch. Okay, just for those of you who are watching live or who will be watching the recording in the next few days, I am pretty sure this is going to be the last episode of Love at First Scent, the last regular episode of Love at First Scent for this year. I will, of course, do my best perfumes of the year rundown just before the end of the year. At the moment, I'm thinking it's probably going to be on the 29th of December. So you may want to earmark in your diaries that it's probably going to be the 29th of December when we do the best of year rundown. And if you want to send me some suggestions on your favorite perfumes of the year, please do so. But for today, send me your suggestions about some of your favorite patchouli perfumes. So I think we should get going with smelling. I'm tempted to look at the comments, but I don't want to, I need to get on with the smelling, because we're already at the 5-minute mark. Where to start? Where to start? There are probably going to be some controversial choices. At one stage as well, I will also talk about a few that didn't make it to the list. As I was compiling when I got the idea of doing a top 10 best patchouli, I thought, oh gosh, well, that'll be easy because there aren't actually that many really, really great patchouli perfumes out there. So yeah, it shouldn't be hard to come up with 6 or 7 and then bulk up the list with another 3. And then, of course, I started making the list, and I thought, oh dear, perhaps this wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. So, again, regular viewers will know that I always tell myself not to overthink this. So, this is the top 10 best patchouli perfumes as chosen by me in 2020. Give it another few days or another week, and the list may look quite different. And even now, as I'm looking at the bottles here, I'm thinking, oh gosh, did I really actually leave that one out? But a line has got to be drawn, a boundary has got to be delineated and marked, and this is what we're going with. And I'm going to start by taking us back to 2007. I think a lot of you will probably be expecting this brand, but maybe you won't be expecting this one from this brand. Oh, I'm getting nervous now. Right, let us see how you react when I say that the first one is, this isn't in any particular order, by the way. The first one is Noir de Noir from Tom Ford. What are the reactions going to be to this one? I'm really worried because I know there's going to be strong feelings about patchouli out there. I hope the spirit of peace and goodwill that we're starting with will be intact by the time we get to the end of the hour. As I say, this is from 2007, composed by Jacques Cavalier and Harry Fremont, and I'm going to spray it now. I smelt it again just recently as I was compiling the list, and I guess it's not the first thing that comes to mind. Let me just make sure I put it in a position it's so that people can still see it. Can you still see it there? Yeah. It is perhaps not the first thing that comes to mind when people think of a patchouli scent, but it was one of the first things that came to my mind when I was thinking of compiling this. The one that I guess a few people may have thought I may include from Tom Ford is Patchouli Absolute. But I really, really have a problem with that perfume, and I will direct you to my review of it over on Persolaise.com. So I couldn't include that one. Tina says, good thing I'm wearing Noir de Noir today. Oh, how funny. So this is, I suppose, looking back now to 2007, we could say that this was one of the original, in inverted commas, one of the original examples of the West trying to steal some of the perfumery codes of Arabia. Of course, it's no coincidence that it came from Tom Ford, because before this, Jacques Cavalier had done M7 for Yves Saint Laurent at the time when Tom Ford was creative director there, and those aesthetics filtered through into the Tom Ford brand. Again, it's no coincidence that it's also from Tom Ford that we had Oud Wood. These are similar sorts of aesthetics. It's a similar kind of usage of patchouli in a sort of modern chic way, because essentially patchouli has become a really, really vital component of modern chic, especially now that we can't use oak moss as much as we used to be able to. I thought Marias did M7. Alberto Marias doing M7 for YSL. Oh, I thought it was Cavalier. Perhaps it was both of them. Somebody help me out. I could be wrong. I always thought it was Cavalier. But this is what I guess now we could call a very classically Western take on the Arabian rose plus wood with a hint of something oud-like composition. But I've always liked this one because of how the patchouli is presented, because of the fact that even though that dirtiness, that earthiness that you want at least a suggestion of that in the patchouli, it's so beautifully rounded because of the rose, and sweetened with some kind of honey note. Also, a rare example of a perfume with the word noir in it that actually somehow justifies And so I love the fact that Tom Ford decided to go, to go all out and say it's like the blackness of black. And good use of citrus notes at the top. It's it's very dark in the same way that I think the word dark is going to be used a lot in this broadcast. But this one is quite sophisticated, saturnine. It's got a growl to it. All of those nocturnal images come through very well. And I also love how the more camphoraceous elements of the patchouli have been kept in check, because I personally have a bit of a problem with patchouli when it's allowed to run rampant with its more camphoraceous facets, which is why I don't have a lot of time for Patchouli Absolute. But we may get onto that. Okay, so now let me look at some comments, and I must apologize in advance. I'm probably not going to be able to get round to all of your comments because the main thing will be on smelling the perfumes. But let's have a quick look at what people have been saying so far. A high fiber diet will improve your movement, says We Are Sentient. Okay, I don't even know what that's about now, but never mind. So, I thought you may go for purple patchouli, says Benjamin Doughty. I thought that was very unique. Not on the list. David A says, indeed, I'd never really thought of Noir as a patchouli scent, though I do like it. JW says, Malle's Monsieur from me, but from memory, I don't think you were a fan. Stay tuned, stay tuned. Kim Tuft says, Patchouli Absolute is like a Frankenstein monster of a patchouli, something designed in a laboratory. Yes, maybe. And I think that's probably meant to be like that. Not particularly a patchouli for me, says Pisebi, but I love Noir de Noir. Path says, that's the tricky part about patchouli. Do you choose patchouli soliflores or those where it plays a supporting role, albeit a prominent one, as is the case with Portrait of a Lady? Thank you. I'm going to read some more, but this is why I always love interacting with you folks, because you take the words out of my mouth. Yes, in choosing this list, I thought to myself, well, okay, I've got to go for things with that at least make some kind of an interesting comment on patchouli, even if they don't have a prominent patchouli note, because patchouli as an ingredient is I'm sure present in some form in the vast majority of perfume releases out there. It's a relatively inexpensive oil. At the moment, its cost is relatively stable. It is so versatile. It is so important in playing a supporting role. So I had to kind of make a decision to say, okay, most of these perfumes are one that I would turn to if I wanted some kind of a patchouli hit. And because somebody said Portrait of a Lady, I'm going to get it out of the way now. It is not in my officially, it's not in this top 10 list, okay? But I wanted to mention it because it does come up in a lot of people's lists of best patchouli perfumes. I don't turn to Portrait of a Lady from Frederic Malle when I want the patchouli hit, because for me, Portrait of a Lady is very much about the rose and the incense. But it's worth mentioning, and all I will say now is that somewhere there, I think, or maybe in the video description below, I will pop a link to a video, an entire video that I dedicated to Portrait of a Lady. So we've done that one. That's out of the way. Thank you very much, Path. Moo says, hi, I can't find the snob guide on perfume written by you on Amazon. I'm afraid it's out of print. Sorry. Rich Mitch says, now I'm starting to think there were 4 perfumers. Oh, is this back to M7? I don't know. Tushara says, patchouli is a mint kind. Yes, as far as I'm aware, the plant, which is basically a kind of shrub, is part of the mint family. Gavin says angel. Ooh, do you think I would include angel on this list? Hello there from Austin, Texas says the Udo pantograph. I love patchouli. Well, so do a lot of people. Oh, somebody's already gone to Wikipedia saying patchouli comes from the same family as basil, mentha, mint, rosemary, sage, marjoram, etc., etc. Smelt Givenchy Gentleman yesterday for a patch fix. It's been gutted, very sad, says Drac. Yeah, but it's not even trying to be like the original Givenchy Gentleman, the new one. And Shimon says, hello, yay, patchouli. What's your favorite, Shimon? And I need to skip through. Shimon says, you had me at Patchouli, you lost me at Portrait of a Lady. Yeah, but it's not on the list, okay? So you can pretend it's not there. It's not part of the top 10. Where does the best patchouli come from, says Thea? Well, most of the world's patchouli comes from Indonesia. What about Hippie Rose, says Sonia. Patsy says Frederic Malle Promise has amazing patchouli there. Yeah, see, I wasn't crazy about Promise either. Okay, we need to move on. Ooh, what do we do for the second one? Where do we go? So that was 2007. Let's go, let's go, let's go. This is actually really hard choosing. Okay, let's do one that we won't talk a huge amount about because, again, I've done a whole separate video on it, and you know that this is going to be here. I just saw somebody mentioning it, actually. Sotir says, Coromandel is on the list for sure. You think? Now, there is no way that this scent couldn't be on my list. This is the extrait version of Chanel Coromandel. So this version technically is from 2019, composed by Olivier Polge, although of course Coromandel first came into our world as one of the exclusive EDTs composed by Jacques Polge with, I'm sure, support from Christopher Sheldrake. Then it got turned into an EDP. I do actually like it a lot, which is to say I adore it. In all its versions, the extrait has at the moment stolen my heart completely, but then regular viewers will know that I've been on a bit of an extrait thing recently, and it seems like such a terrible waste to put this stuff on paper, but with so many other perfumes to smell, I can't be putting them all on skin. It needs a little bit warming up actually because it is on paper. But this is probably the most refined patchouli, the most elegant patchouli, the most breathtaking, and it's patchouli somehow presented as white chocolate, interestingly. I would imagine maybe because of the use of the benzoin, the balsamic vanillic notes, whereas of course patchouli is quite often used to evoke a kind of chocolate note, but it tends to be a dark chocolate note, like maybe in Mathilde Laurent's L'heure défendue for Cartier, which also is not on this list. That was one of the ones where I thought, does that stay on? Or, but it didn't make it onto the list. But this is just heartbreaking, sweeping elegance. And if we can think of a really, really beautiful fake fur coat that is actually, kind of convincingly looks just. This is Julie Christie and Dr. Zhivago. This is all of those sorts of images, and it is snow and it is whiteness, even though it's patchouli. It's just extraordinary. I do love this stuff so much. I'm labeling these because I will try to be a very, very good Persolaise today and give you a blotter update. For those of you who are not aware, for those of you who just happen to have found my channel through this video, because I'm really, really hot on the fact that we must not make firm conclusions about perfumes based on a first sniff, even though this series is called Love at First Scent, I try to do a blotter update in the video description below to say how the scent has developed a few hours after the end of the broadcast. So that's what I mean when I say blotter update. We're at almost at the 20-minute mark and we've only done 2. Any comments for me to pick up? Rich Mitch says, yes, it was Marias and Cavalier together for